It is officially official. Tony Romo with back surgery. He is out for the remainder of the season. Big news today for Cowboys fans everywhere. Mike Rodriguez and Nathan Wood will be hanging out with you guys tonight up until 11 o'clock. Coming up in the 6 o'clock hour, we got all the Cowboys news of the day. Plenty of Cowboys and Eagles talk still to come. Plus the Rangers with a big introduction today. That's coming up at 6:30. Then at 6:45, the DFW Sports Person of the Year debate continues. But Nathan, man, we got to start off talking about Tony Romo. I don't think anybody was fooled by the announcement today that back surgery will keep him out of this game and out for the rest of the season.
I think Jerry and Jason might be the only ones that didn't know. I've dealt with this since Monday.
Yep.
I was working up here on Monday. Somebody came to me, and I'll give Adam Schefter his credit, and that was the one reason I figured it was actually true, is usually Adam Schefter doesn't throw stuff to the wall to see if it sticks. Now that I've given his pat on the back, we can move on. Because it was a situation where Fish was saying it, Mickey was saying it. It was almost understood that this was a herniated disc.
Everybody was putting it on the line.
We were just using our, wishing well, fairy dust, unicorn, whatever you want to call it, to think that maybe he could play in this. And it wasn't a hamstring or a finger or, a rib. You're talking about your back here, dude. Like everything, the whole rest of your body, when that pain in that portion of your back, it goes everywhere. Like you can't play with this. And I'm glad they finally said, look, this is what it is. He's done. But I've already dealt with it. And I think a lot of Cowboy fans have already dealt with it too, that basically starting since Tuesday, I assumed Kyle Orton was going to start in the game.
The only glimmer of hope that I had was the fact that it was Tony Romo. Knowing how passionate Romo is, knowing how much Romo loves football. I mean, heck, if you watched the game on Sunday, what was the last words we heard from Tony Romo to the reporter after the game on the field? And she asked him about injuries. He said, I'll be fine. I'll be out there. Don't worry about it. So I kind of thought, all right, this is Romo. This is one of the toughest players that I've ever seen, that I've ever covered, and definitely one of the most passionate players that I've ever been around. I feel bad for Tony Romo today.
Yeah, and when Jerry told us on Tuesday, he said, well, what did he say to you whenever he went to the doctor? And the point where he said he's disappointed. I had made up my mind at that point that he wasn't playing. And this sucks for him to play 15 games, to, really at certain points of this season really put it all on the line for them. He played through injury, and to really the way that he won that game last week. I don't think this would be such a tragic situation if this game didn't mean anything, but the fact of how they won that game, 4th and 10, you make the play to DeMarco Murray, you keep your team in it to possibly get in the playoffs, and then you turn right around in the next day and you're like, season's over.
That's it.
And what really sucks for him is this seems to happen a lot, and it's not. Tony Romo never gets labeled with the injury-prone tag. Sean Lee does. Sean Lee has a freak toe incident, a freak Achilles. Now he's got the neck thing, but Tony Romo's had a collarbone in his season. He had the rib thing he dealt with the entire season, and now he's got this, and he's never labeled injury-prone because he fights through it so much. And it just sucks for him. And, Jerry said he was disappointed. And he said, I felt like I let my team down, which there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, a herniated disc is a herniated disc.
Hey, he didn't let the team down. If anything, he put the team in the position that they're in this Sunday against the Philadelphia Eagles. If you missed the specifics of the news around Romo today, here's what we got. Undergoes back surgery this morning, placed on injured reserve. The pain was too great, they're saying, and the treatments didn't work. That included an epidural shot for that herniated disc in his back. Now, I'm assuming this surgery, that's usually when they shave the jelly donut, as a lot of the doctors we've heard on the local broadcast have been saying. Those herniated discs are in there. They shave that down to avoid the disc from hitting the nerves, causing the leg pain and all that other stuff. So that's what Tony Romo went through today. The future of Tony Romo, we'll get into that in length over the next 5 hours. Jerry Jones is hoping that he's back in time for OTAs. Any shot of that happening?
It's just funny how in like an hour, all week we said, oh, can he play in the game? There's a small chance. What if they win? Could he play next week? And then within an hour, it's, all right, well, will he be ready for
What's
OTAs?
Next?
Will he be ready for camp? Will he be ready for the start of the season? And I don't think they have any answers. Obviously, he had the surgery today. There's no way they'll know for probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. Jerry actually talked about that today, and It's actually cut number 4, Colby. They asked him what he can tell us about the surgery.
Really not. I think that just back surgery is the way that I'd like to describe it. And it was, of course, as a result of the injury on Sunday. It had nothing to do with his cysts that he had treated and surgery for in the spring.
You know what's weird for us is, you got that crystal ball and you're looking ahead to the stories that we're going to have to cover in 2014, as we just heard from Jerry Jones on earlier today with Jeff Kavanaugh and Chris Arnold. This is going to be now the story of, when's Tony Romo coming back? Is he ready for OTAs? Is he going to be ready for training camp? Is he ready for this? How's he doing? Get used to the what's next for Romo angle, day in, week out, month out, over the next several months up until May, up until training camp, and even, you look at last year and what happened to Robert Griffin III. And I don't want to, yes, it's two completely different injuries. One's a back, one was a knee. But the Redskins went through the same exact thing. When's RG3 going to be ready? And he wasn't ready up until the first week of the season.
Well, the other big part about it is, Mike, I don't know if you remember this, but they just backed a truck up and dumped a whole bunch of money on Tony Romo's front lawn. $55 million guaranteed. He hasn't even started this 6-year, $108 million contract. And this is after he had the first, if you want to call it air quotes, cyst procedure. You're talking about maybe having your quarterback's career cut short or hindered by a serious injury, and you're paying him a lot of money. Now, I know you can't see a herniated disc coming. Maybe they did, and that's why he had the first surgery in April. The team
they're saying it's unrelated.
The team will
Everybody's
deny
been saying
that.
everything's been unrelated.
And that's, I don't know, the reason, and I'm not saying this is, but there is NFL rules say that if you don't put them on the injury report, and they should be, they could get fined big time. So they're trying to say, yeah, that one time he got hit, that's where it happened, and that's why he's having the surgery. But you're looking at 6 more years now, and a 33-year-old quarterback, almost 34, where you go, man, $108 million, $55 million guaranteed to somebody that we're not sure what his future looks like.
Romo's 33. Keep in mind, Troy Aikman was 34 when he retired. Cowboys last year, and trust me, I was one of the, what would you say, one of the only ones, one of the few that said, don't sign this guy. You've got a year option on this guy, which would have been this year. Let's wait and see what would happen to Tony Romo. If the Cowboys would have been patient, and as much as I rip John Daniels and the Rangers organization for not being loyal to the players who got him there, John Daniels would be sitting right there right now with the Tony Romo contract in his hand saying, gotcha. Man. I mean, think about that. If the Cowboys didn't do this deal, didn't give him the extension, Jerry Jones would be sitting there with Tony Romo as an unrestricted free agent coming off back surgery. What do you think the value and the worth of that contract would be?
Severely declined right there. I mean, you're talking about, because
what would he do? That's the thing. I would love to see that play out hypothetically.
And I'm not saying this is not an apples to apples comparison, but at that point, you're looking at a Peyton Manning situation where you're going, dude, I don't know what you can do. You're coming off a serious surgery. Now, granted, he's going to be in camp. They're going to see him go through training camp. He's going to be with the team, so they're going to know start a season next year if he's ready to go. But when Peyton Manning was a free agent, if you're talking about if he would have never got this contract and he goes into free agency, everybody was like, hey, why don't we sign Peyton Manning? And at that point, before he rewrote all the record books, everybody was going, dude, he might have a noodle arm. We don't know if he can throw. We don't know if he can turn his neck. That might be the situation that you would be facing if you're Tony Romo, if you don't already have this contract.
Unbelievable when you look back on it. 6 years, $108 million contract extension, $55 million in guarantees, and a $25 million signing bonus. Tony Romo plays 15 more games. What if that was the last 15 games of his career with the Dallas Cowboys?
He went out a hero, dude. He rode into the sunset.
Went out a hero.
Your last image is him throwing the ball to DeMarco Murray.
I don't think we saw the last of Tony Romo.
No,
I think
absolutely
at some point he'll come back, but I don't know if he's ever going to be the same player. I don't know if he's going to be the magician in the pocket.
Mike, was he the same player this year?
I doubt he's going to be that guy that scrambles away from the rush and makes that miraculous play like he always we're so used to watching him do. I think at times, yes, he was the same Tony Romo.
I don't think he's the same Tony Romo this year as he was in 2009 and 2010. How many times can you count in your head where you and mobility in the pocket is the same, but how many times this year did you go, dude, did you see the whip that he just put on that ball? Did you see him elude that guy in the open field to pick up a first down? 3 or 4 times? I don't think he's the same guy from 2 years ago.
Amazing how injuries have just completely crushed the Cowboys as they go into the final week of the season. Big game on Sunday. You can listen to the game right here on 105.3 The Fan. We've got coverage all day long.